bow down before the testimony of the life and death of Edith Stein, an outstanding daughter of Israel, and at the same time a daughter of the Carmelite order, a personality who united within her rich life a dramatic synthesis of a history full of deep wounds that are still hurting. My dear friends, these were the words of Pope John Paul II when he beatified Edith Stein in Cologne, Germany on 1st May 1987. So, who is Edith Stein and what is her story? It is the story of a young Jewish girl born in a very devout Jewish family of 11 kids on 12th October 1891. She was born during Yom Kippur, the most important Jewish festival, the Feast of Atonement. Edith's father, who ran a timber business, died when she was only 2 years old. Her mother, a very devout, hardworking, strong-willed and truly wonderful woman, had to fend for herself and look after her 11 kids and their large business. Though born in a staunch Jewish faith, Edith lost her faith in God as a teenager. She said, "I consciously decided of my own will to give up praying." After graduating from school at the beginning of the First World War, she did a nursing course and served in an Austrian field hospital. This was a hard time for her, during which she looked after the sick, worked in an operating theater, and saw young people die. Later on, she left the nursing work and got into academics, specializing in philosophy. She passed her doctorate with summa cum laude, a degree which means with the utmost distinction, in 1917. She had proclaimed herself as an atheist. Her first inspiration to become Catholic was when she went to Frankfurt Cathedral and saw a woman with a shopping basket going to kneel for a brief prayer. She said, "This was something totally new to me. In the synagogues and Protestant churches I had visited, people simply went to the services. Here, however, I saw someone coming straight from the busy marketplace into this empty church, as if she was going to have an intimate conversation with someone. It was something I never forgot." In her busy schedule of studying, teaching and writing articles, she also read the New Testament and spiritual exercises of Ignatius of Loyola. She felt that one could not just read a book like that, but had to put into practice. In the summer of 1921, she spent several weeks on the country estate of her friend, Hedwig Conrad, who had become a Protestant. One evening, Edith picked up an autobiography of St. Theresa of Avila and read this book all night. She wrote, "When I had finished the book, I said to myself, this is the truth. It is the story of one Teresa inspiring another Teresa." On 1st January 1922, Edith Stein was baptized. At the age of 14, she had lost her Jewish faith, and at the age of 31, she found Catholic faith. It was the feast of the circumcision of Jesus. Edith Stein stood by the baptismal font, wearing the white wedding cloak of her Protestant friend Hedwig Conrad. From this moment on, she was continually aware that she belonged to Christ. At the feast of the purification of Mary, she was confirmed by the bishop in his private chapel. You see, since her birth, the important dates in her life were connected to some major feast. You may call it coincidence, but I choose to call it God incidence. Immediately after her conversion, she wanted to join a Carmelite convent. However, her spiritual mentors stopped her from doing so. Until 1931, she was teaching German and history at the school and teacher training college. At the same time, accepted speaking engagements mainly on women's issues. She worked very hard translating the letters and diaries of Cardinal Newman, the Anglican who had become Catholic priest. She successfully combined scholarship and faith in her work, seeking to be a tool of the Lord in everything she taught. In 1933, darkness broke out over Germany. The Nazis made it impossible for Edith Stein to continue teaching. She wrote, "I had become a stranger in the world. I had heard of severe measures against Jews before, but now it dawned on me that God had laid his hand heavily on his people and that the destiny of these people would also be mine." She knew that the political situation was not so good, so she went to her birthplace for the last time to say goodbye to her mother and her family. Her last day at home was her birthday, 12th October, which was also the last day of the Feast of Tabernacles. Edith went to the synagogue with her mother. It was a hard day for the two women. It was not easy for a Jewish mother to accept her Catholic daughter. Edith's mother cried. Edith wrote, "What I had just experienced was too terrible, but I felt a profound peace in the safe haven of God's will." Edith joined the Carmelite convent of Cologne in 1934. She was now known as Sister Teresa Benedicta a Croce, meaning Teresa, Blessed of the Cross. In 1938, she wrote, "I understood the cross as the destiny of God's people, which was beginning to be apparent at the time, that is 1933. I felt that those who understood the cross of Christ should take it upon themselves on everybody's behalf." On 14 September 1936, the renewal of her vows coincided with her mother's death. On 9th November 1938, the anti-Semitism of the Nazis became apparent to the whole world. Synagogues were burnt and the Jewish people were subjected to terror. On New Year's Eve 1938, the prioress of the Carmelite convent in Cologne smuggled her across the border into the Netherlands. The Nazis occupied that country in 1940. In retaliation for being denounced by the Dutch bishops, the Nazis arrested all Dutch Jewish people who had become Christians. Edith Stein was arrested in 1942 while she was in the chapel with the other sisters. She was to report within 5 minutes together with her real sister Rosa, who had also converted and was serving at the convent. Her last words to her real sister Rosa was, "Come, we are going for our people." On 7th August early in the morning, 987 Jews were deported to Auschwitz. It was probably on 9th August that Sister Teresa Benedicta a Croce, her sister Rosa, and many other Jewish were guests. When Edith Stein was beatified in Cologne on 1st May 1987, the church honored a daughter of Israel, as Pope John Paul II put it, who as a Catholic during Nazi persecution remained faithful to the crucified Lord Jesus Christ, and as a Jew to her people in loving faithfulness. Pope John Paul II beatified Theresa Benedicta of the Cross in 1987 and canonized her 12 years later. Well, my friends, that was the story of Saint Benedicta of the Cross. Theresa Benedicta of the Cross is one of the patron saints of Europe, together with Bridget of Sweden and Catherine of Siena. Many people inspired by her life wrote novels, made musical plays, and produced movies. Hope you too are inspired by her story. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next episode of Real Stories That Inspire Life. At your service, the Wandering Guru.